So, and I'm also adding verbs every week as well. So if there's a verb you don't know, then maybe you just haven't learned it yet, and I shall tell you what it is. Okay, let's start with David. Let's do this one down here. To throw. Oh, sorry. Let me just turn off. To throw. Group 2 verb. You may not know this, or you might do. Depends if you've done judo before.
I did judo for about 3 weeks.
Okay.
No, I don't. Sorry.
Can anybody help?
Nageru.
Nageru. Good. Yes. Nageru.
Nageru.
Yeah.
So nageru, nagete, nagemasu.
Good.
Potential. Nagerarimasu.
Very good.
Nageta koto ga arimasu.
Very good.
Potential, experience, obligative.
Yeah.
Nage nakereba narimasen.
Very good.
Passive. Same, isn't it? It's nagerarimasu.
It is. Well done.
And causative, nage sasemasu.
Yes, good. Nage sasemasu. Well done. Good. Luke, let's jump over to some of these over here, the group 1 ones. This one, to gather around. To gather around. This is the intransitive verb.
Susumeru.
That means to advance. So it's not susumeru, but can anybody help? Begins with
Shugo is gather around. To
Shugo, right? Okay. So shugo is the compound of this particular verb and another word.
Atsumaru.
Atsumaru. Good. Yes, atsumaru.
Okay. Atsumaru.
Yep.
Is group 1.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, it's group 2.
It is, yeah.
Atsumaru. Atsumatte.
Yep.
Atsumarimasu.
Can you hear this rolling R, Andre? Yep. Good.
Potential. Matsu.
Atsu, not matsu. Atsu.
Yeah. Well, you can wait for a while. Atsumareru.
Good. Atsumareru.
Atsumareru. Atsuma matta koto ga arimasu.
Very good. Yeah.
Atsumanakereba narimasen.
The obligative. So can you do it one more time?
Negative, play negative.
Yeah, which would be
Atsumunai.
No, it's atsumaru. No, it's group 1. So think about how the ru at the end also changes.
Atsumanai.
Still, you dropped the ru. That ru needs to become something.
Yes, but I was thinking about the play negative first.
Yeah, me too. Atsumaranai.
Atsumaranai.
Yeah.
And so Atsumanakereba narimasen.
No, you still dropped the ra at the end.
Atsumaru. Atsumanakereba narimasen.
Still drops the ra. Atsumaranai. So Atsumara is going to be
Atsumaranai.
Yep.
Ranakereba narimasen.
That was close enough. Good. Okay. Atsumaranakereba narimasen.
Atsumaranakereba narimasen.
Okay, good. Yes.
Atsumaseru. No,
passive is
the same as no. Passive voice was Atsumareru.
so
Okay.
Guys, can I just draw your attention to something? All of these, obligative, passive and causative, they all
Begin with-
require that you put the verb into the plain negative form. So you have to hold that kind of, that plain negative stem in your mind. So atsumaru is going to be atsumara. So all of
Mara.
these, yeah.
So it should be Atsumaran Nareru.
Atsumarareru. Atsumarareru.
Rareru, yes. Or Raremas. Atsumarareru.
Good. And then the causative.
Atsumaraseru.
Very good. Yes, atsumaraseru. Cool. Good. Anika, how about to keep or to retain? So let me help you. The intransitive version of this verb is nokoru. Nokoru. It's the same character which means zan in zanshin and zangyo over time.
Nokosu.
Nokosu. Good. Well done.
Nokosu. Nokote.
So su has to
Su.
become something at the end.
Nokote.
You just
No.
dropped this. You've cut the su off, but that's only for group 2 verbs. You've got to do something with that final syllable.
Nokoshite.
Nokoshite. Good.
Nokochimasu.
Nokoshimasu.
Nokoshimasu.
Yeah.
Nokosu. Nokosa. Potential. Nokosareru.
Nearly. But that's the causatives kind of. So remember that if you wanted to say I can go, would you say this? Iku would become.
God. Oh God. Ikare.
No.
Iku.
Becomes ikeru. So the
Ikeru.
u sound becomes e. U becomes e. Ikeru. So nokosu in the potential would be.
Nokoseru.
Yeah, exactly. Nokoseru. Experience.
Nokoshita koto ga arimasu.
Yep, good.
Nokosa nakereba narimasen.
Excellent.
Nokosareru
Very good.
and nokosaseru.
Very good. Well done. Excellent. Ukashka. How about to collapse? This is the transitive verb.
You say.
It's this movement in Chud in Hasegawa Eishimu of dragging the person to the floor. Compound verb.
Zoom.
Zoom. It's vava boom.
I don't know collapse. Do I know it? Oh, I should
Maybe.
search for it. Or
Well, this action of pulling somebody to the floor with a sword is called hikitaushi. Hikitaushi.
so taosu.
Tausu. Good.
Taosu. I just write down. Taosu. So I didn't know. Taosu. Taoshite.
Good.
Taoshimasu.
Yes.
Potential. Taoseru.
Very good.
Taoshita koto ga arimasu.
Good.
Obligative. Taosanakereba narimasen.
Very good.
Taosareru.
Good.
Taosaseru.
Excellent. Well done. Excellent. Good. Kim, how about to undress or remove clothing or shoes?
Nugu?
Very good. Yeah, nugu.
Okay. So nugu. Nuite.
Nuide. Good. Yeah.
Nuide.
Yeah.
Nugimas.
Yeah.
Nugemas.
Good.
Experience. Nuida koto ga arimasu.
Good.
Nuga nakereba narimasen.
Very good. Yeah.
Nugareru.
Very good. Well done.
And nugaseru.
Very good. Excellent. Perfect. Andre, how about to be surprised? So I don't mean bikkuri suru. I mean, there's another actual verb for this, isn't there? Do you know it?
Is that something like odorokasu or something?
Odoroku. Odoroku.
Odoroku.
Yeah.
Odoroku.
To be astonished or to be surprised. Yeah.
Odoroku?
Mm-hmm.
Odorotte.
No.
No?
So ku becomes
Odoroite.
odoroite. Very good.
Odorokimasu.
Good.
Odorokemasu.
Good.
驚いたことがあります。
Good.
驚かなければなりません。
Good.
驚
So it's odoroku. So make this into the plain negative.
驚かれる。
Very good. Yes.
驚かせる。
Excellent. Well done. Good. Yeah. I think most of you guys are doing what I do with these kind of difficult ones is, for example, when I get down to this group, obligative, passive and causative, I know this is going to be the plain negative. So I can only really hold two things in my mind simultaneously at the same time. So in my left side, I'm thinking odoroka. So I get that set, odoroka, odoroka, odoroka. And then I just remember what all the attachments are on the end. Odoroka nakareba narimasen, odoroka odorokareru, odorokaseru, and just kind of then stitch them together like this. So if you pause halfway through, who cares? This is quite difficult conjugation. Okay, good. Thanks, Andre. Tom, how about here's one. Untie. Untie. You may not know this.
Toku?
One more time.
Toku?
Toku. Actually, you could use toku. Yeah. So if you're talking about laces and not actual knots, then this is hodoku. Hodoku.
Toku.
Yeah.
Also ends on ku, so hodoku. Hodoite.
Good.
Hodokimasu.
Yep.
Hodokeru.
Good.
Hodokaita koto ga arimasu.
One more time, please.
Hodoita koto ga arimasu.
Very good. Yeah. Hodoita koto ga arimasu.
Hodoka nakereba narimasen.
Good.
Hodoka reru.
Very good.
Hodokaseru.
Very good. Well done. Excellent. Jonathan, how about this doesn't really work with all this verb conjugation, but we may as well just do this for practice. To give birth to.
That's umu, right?
Umu. Good. Yeah, exactly. Umu.
Okay. Umu. Uide.
One more time.
Uide.
So mu becomes
Uide.
Unde.
Oh, right, that's the end. Okay. So umu, unde, みます。
Good.
埋めます。
Yep.
産んだことがあります。
Very good.
産まなければなりません。
Excellent.
生まれる。
Very good.
産
Yeah,
ま
exactly.
せる。
Excellent. Well done. Perfect. Good. Joel. Let's grab this one down here. Group 2, to tidy away. Excuse me.
I don't know what this is.
Can anybody help? To tidy away? Okay, it's katazukeru. Katazukeru.
Katazukeru?
Yeah.
Okay, so katazukeru, katazukete.
Yep.
Katazukemasu.
Yep.
Katazukerareru.
Was that the potential? Yes, it was. Yeah, that's correct.
Katazukerareru.
Yeah, good.
Katazuketa koto ga arimasu.
Excellent.
Katazukenakireba narimasen.
Good.
Katazukerareru.
Good. Exactly the same as potential.
Katazukesaseru.
Very good. Well done. Cool. Good. Aga, how about to borrow? Oh, you're muted at the moment.
I don't remember the verb.
Okay. Can anybody help?
Kariru.
Kariru. Excellent. Yes, good. Kariru.
Kari. Oh. Karite.
Good.
Karimasu.
Yep.
Kararemasu.
Good.
Karita koto ga arimasu.
Good.
Karinakereba narimasen.
Yep.
Karirareru.
Good.
Karisaseru.
Perfect. Well done. Good. Sophie, let's also give you a group 2 to consider or to think. I'm constantly thinking about an Australian marsupial.
I think that I had that in the morning.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Kangaroo, yeah. I think
kangaroo, yeah.
Yeah. Kangaroo.
Let's do let's do a group 1 then, actually. How about this is a good one. We haven't done this for a while. To refuse.
To refuse.
No searching for it. Can anybody help? Can anybody help?
Wait, is it 断る?
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
sure.
You're
Okay.
you're correct. It's
Koto?
kotowaru. Kotowaru.
Kotowaru. Kotowaru.
And keru?
Ko-
One more time.
Keru?
Keru. Could be. That's probably a verb I don't
maybe
know.
to kick.
Yeah,
To
keru
kick,
does
to
mean kick.
refuse, to reject.
It could be a kind of colloquial. When you say I kick it, there might be a colloquial way of saying I refuse it. Maybe that's why the dictionary's brought it up.
Yes, the first one was wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Sorry.
you want
That's good.
that form. Kotowate.
Good.
Polite. Kotowarimasu.
Very good. Yeah.
Now we want potential. Waremasu.
Good. Yes.
Potential. Experience. Potential. No.
I think it's group 1. So how do we make group 1s into the I can refuse? I think we had this problem this morning, Sophie.
Yeah, I have to go back and remember
Yeah.
everything now.
How'd you say I can go to somewhere? I can go somewhere. This is what I said this morning, wasn't it? No. You're thinking of
No.
group 2. You're thinking of group 2. How do you say? Just forget kotowaru for a second. How do you say I can go? I can go.
I can go. Ikemasu.
Ikemasu. Okay, so
Ikemasu.
listen to what you're doing. You're taking iku and making the ku into ke. So kotowaru, turn the ru into a
Re.
re. Right. Okay.
Kotowaremasu.
Very good. Yeah. Kotowaremasu.
Kotowaremasu. Kotowaremasu. Koto ga arimasu. Oh no, we said that. Obligative.
Yeah. Can you do the experience again? That wasn't quite right. I think you just jumped from one part of the sentence straight into another part of the sentence.
Kotowaremasu, we said.
So no, kotowarima. So for the experience, then you have to turn the kotowaru into the plain past form.
Kotowareta.
No, kotowa. So think of kaeru, which is another group 1 verb finishing with ru. How do you turn this into the te form? Kaeru becomes.
Kotowarimasu.
No. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. No, hang on. Stop. Forget kotowaru. Think of kaeru, to go home.
Kaeru.
Okay. How do you say go home? With the te.
Kaete.
Kaete. So this is also a ru finishing verb. Group 1 verb finishing with ru. So kotowaru become koto.
Wata.
Good. Kotowata.
Yes, yes, it's the te in A. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, kotowata.
Kotowata, and then you have to have the rest of the.
Kotoga arimasu.
Very good. Yes, good.
Now we want the obligative.
Yep.
Nakereba. So it's kotowa nakereba.
Ah, nearly. You just lost a syllable though.
Kotowa re nakereba.
Not re, but what's the plain negative of kotowaru?
The plain negative. Kotowaranai.
Kotowaranai. Kotowara.
Kotowaranakereba narimasen.
Okay, hold kotowara in one part of your brain. Kotowara.
Kotowara.
Yep, and now passive form.
Kotowarana. Oh, passive. Kotowararemasu.
Very good. Kotowararemasu. Yep. And causative.
Kotowarare. I give up.
So we've got still got kotowara, and then we want to add seru. Kotowara.
Kotowara. Oh my goodness. Kotowara rasemasu.
Good. Excellent. Well done. Good.
Okay, Andrew, you don't have to test me with the pronunciation of the Japanese, please.
Tonight, this is tonight's the leash is off because you guys have already knew that Andre was going to do this, so now you have to prep yourself, get yourself plenty of Vaseline to keep things lubricated. Martin, how about you're not muted, Martin, but I can't hear you.
Hello.
Oh, that's it. Good, thank you. Let's do to inhale.
To inhale.
Yeah. Rather important. It's also the same word to means to smoke something.
Kokusuru.
This would be this is a kind of kanjification of it, but there's a proper verb for it. Anybody help?
Su.
Su. Good. Yes. Su. S-U-U.
S-U-U.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. That's a fun one. Okay, so the plain is going to be su. Obviously, the imperative is suite.
So
Sutte.
Sutte. Excellent. Yes, good. Sutte.
The polite, I'm confused. Is it suimas?
Yep, good. Suimas.
Okay. Potential sutteru.
So it's just su, and then the last u becomes an e.
Does it? Sue.
And then
Su-
with the ru on the end to make it a
Sueru?
group. Sueru, exactly. Sueru.
Okay. Experience sutte koto ga arimasen.
Not sutte, but not te, but
Oh, sutta.
sutta. Yes.
Obligative. Sutta nakariban arimasen.
Okay, these ones are kind of a bit tricky. So how to make the plain negative form of group 1 verbs that finish with a single vowel. Let's use ao, to meet, as our example. So ao becomes aimas, but to say the plain negative of ao, to meet, you would say, do you remember?
No outer.
No, it becomes awanai. So the u becomes a wa, awanai.
Okay.
So you, su would become,
Suwa.
yes, good.
Suwa nakariban arimasen.
Excellent, good.
Okay. Passive. Suwareru.
Very good.
Causative. Suaseru.
Perfect, well done, good. Excellent, well done, guys. It's getting better and better. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So the word excuse me, you normally say sumimasen. Depending on region, some people shorten this to suimasen, which also means I don't smoke. So if somebody offers you a cigarette in certain parts of Japan, you say suimasen, suimasen. Oh, it's Andre. Thanks, guys. It's all yours. I've warmed them up, Andre. The crowd is yours now.
Yeah. Now I'm going to torture you guys with intonations. Hi, Tom-san.
Because now
Hi,
you
Tom.
brought up the word gomenasai. What's the difference between gomenasai and shitsure?
Is that a question to me?
Yes, or Andre?
Ah, okay. So gomenasai means please. It means I'm sorry, but it means please forgive me. Shitsure means to be rude. Shitsure shimasu. So if you say shitsure shimasu, if you say shitsure shimasu, it kind of means pardon me for being rude. It means I am going to be rude. Shitsure shimasu. But it's just a way of saying I'm sorry, I'm going to be rude. Yeah.
Usually said before doing something.
Exactly.
Like leaving or walking in front of someone.
Exactly.
Saying something.
Exactly. Yeah. So before you leave the workplace, you usually say something like "Osaki ni shitsure shimasu." Pardon me.
If Andre starts, can I also ask a question?
Sure.
Recently, I came across this stuff, because my daughter is now asking me questions in Japanese, this kind of cards, and and it was like sit down on a chair, and I said isu ni suwatte.
Yes.
And she said no. It's supposed to be isu ni suwarinasai.
So suwatte is quite an abrupt way of saying sit down. This is like saying suwatte kudasai, but without the kudasai.
Yes,
now,
it was supposed to be an order.
Oh, okay. So suwatte is quite a hard order. Suwarinasai is probably one level down from saying suwatte kudasai or suwatte kure. It's one level down in terms of politeness. So you shouldn't really use it for in a formal situation. You could say it to friends, suwarinasai. If you wanted to give, so suwarinasai is a little bit more like a request. Suwatte just by itself is a little bit more like an order.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So you can use with any verb, like you just go with suwari, mas, you cut off mas and there's at nasai.
Exactly.
And
all
it's
verbs,
supposed to be this kind of, thank you.
So gomenasai is actually a kind of nasai. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard also gomen in Japan.
Yeah.
Some people said gomen.
Yeah, that means sorry. Gomenasai means please forgive me. I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And sorry for...
Nie ma sprawy. Okay, sorry, Andre, over to you.
Okay, so welcome to this special session of Andy's Japanese Pronunciation Corner. Okay, first of all, I am not a native Japanese speaker, so just to let you to know that. Watashi wa gaijin desu. So I put up this presentation to aim to help all of us to improve our Japanese pronunciations. I always make mistake, and so I kind of put these things together. So the purpose is to try to make our pronunciation to sound more like a genuine Japanese person, or like Dogen-san, and less like a foreigner who try to speak Japanese in a weird accent. So I try to come up with a systematical method. So I would like to work on 3 areas. First, the consonants and the vowels, and the accents and intonations. And then I have some materials, and at the end, I want to do some exercise with you guys. So the first thing is working on the consonants. So these are the methods which I use in the theater practice. So the main thing is we want to make the consonants as clear as possible. And to do this, sometimes we just have to exaggerate individual consonants if necessary. That means you have to open your mouth and utilize your lips and your tongue. And the third point is you don't have to rush yourself. Very often we have to tell our actors on the stage, calm down, slow down. It's your monologue. Please enjoy every moment of acting on the stage. So you shouldn't rush yourself. So please enjoy every moment of speaking. So this is something that we can do that in the conjugation exercise, which like we did like 5 minutes ago. It's like when you do this exercise, or try to get the consonants as clear as possible, and try not to be nervous, because if you are nervous, then you have the tendency to speed up things and blah, 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 and then your speech might not be clear. And especially we're speaking in front of a microphone, that's makes things just more difficult to hear. And the last point is exercise before reading would help. Like we have to relax our upper body. And if you squeeze your shoulder like this and tighten up your neck muscle, it's going to affect your ability of delivering a speech, especially in front of a microphone. And this is something that we notice from some of us. So first of all, the consonants R and L. In the Japanese language, they are kind of treated the same. So they're treated as the same consonant in the Japanese language. But let's say if you are a native English speaker, you might want to change the R into L. So rari ru re ro. So it's like lali lu le lo. So the reason is that your R sounds more like the Japanese R. And Andy-san, would you like to explain why the English R sounds so different?
Sure. Yes. So when we usually pronounce R in the middle of a word, in English, for British people, we often put our bottom lip against our top teeth. So we, for example, not bring relax. If you watch my bottom lip, it hits the tooth. Relax. But generally, most European people, most non-British European countries, you don't have this kind of r sound, you normally make it by using like a D sound. I can't really do it spontaneously. Relax, like this. So you probably won't have the same problems that British people have. So I was saying to Andre, most of you already kind of use an L sound for R sounds in your language, when you're speaking English. So it should be much easier for you guys. You can really hear a British person learning to speak Japanese because they say arigato like this, arigato, but most of you guys don't do this, thankfully, except for who was it earlier who was doing it? Andre? Tom.
Tom was using a French.
Ah, that's right. Yes,
R, yeah.
French rolling. Yes, exactly.
French rolling.
Yeah. Arigato.
Arigato.
Arigato. It's not like Italian.
Well, in the Japanese language, there's also a rolling R, but it's used in certain dialects that was spoken by low-rank peasants or Yakuza members. So if you want to speak like a Yakuza, then you can use the rolling R like this. Kusoyara, kora, ore ni nan no you da.
It's to be heard in Kurosawa movies quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Best of press.
So if you want to speak like a Yakuza, go ahead and use the rolling R. And this is one of the Hayaguchi exercises used by NHK announcers. So they would do this exercise before they broadcast something. So as you can see, it's a paragraph consisting R and M consonants. So to pronounce the R consonants, you have to use your tongue. And to use
Thanks, Tom.
And to use and for the M
right.
consonants, you just have to move your lips. So 2 tips: open your mouth like widely like this, and utilize your lips and your tongue as much as possible. So let me do it once, and then you guys can have a go. So it goes like this: Lemiolomen, lemon to melon or lumine demite, mero mero. Okay, please unmute yourself and let me hear your beautiful voices.
So you don't say R, but you say L.
Yeah.
Meron.
Mero mero.
Melo or melo?
Mero. That means drunk. Okay, I think one person was doing the Yakuza style. Who was it?
Was it?
Was it somebody Flemish?
I guess so.
Okay, can you try this one more time and slowly?
Remioromen.
Okay, that was very good, very good. So that's something you can do before the Japanese lesson. So the next thing is how to speak elegant Japanese. So there are certain vowels that you have to devoice. When I say devoice, that means the vowel is devoiced and you pronounce only the consonant. Okay, the first example is 字. So if 字 is placed before ku, for example, or ka, then the 字 will be devoiced and you pronounce only the consonants. So example, 直卡屋, we don't say 直卡屋, we say 直卡屋, and 竹卡, we don't say 竹卡, we say 直卡, 直卡, 直卡屋, 直卡. Very nice, Tom. And also for ku, if we have a kute, then the ku will be devoiced. When I say devoiced, it's kind of very lightly pronounced or barely pronounced. So kute would become kte, kte. For example, when we conjugate the e adjective into te form, then we have something kute. Like abai, sweet, it becomes amakte, amakte. And azui, hot, and the te form is atsukute, atsukute. And you notice I also devoiced the zu because the previous rule applies. So it's atsukute, atsukute. And also for kite and kitte, then the ki is devoiced. So kite to wear, it sounds like kite, kite. And also for shi and su, if we have something like shte or shta, if we like a group 3, like conjugating a group 3 verb, then it's renshu shite, renshu shita, unden shite, unden shita. And also the su, if it comes at the end of a suffix like desu or masu, and the su will be devoiced. Maru maru desu becomes maru maru desu, maru maru desu. Ikimasu becomes ikimasu, ikimasu. So that's the devoicing of vowels. And the second point is the g.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Łukasz.
Hi, Andre. Do we always devoicing u and e and nothing else, or there are also some other vowels that you disregard?
These are the example I could think of. There might be other examples, but this zu, ku, ki, shi, su, that's the example I can think of.
Okay.
And
I agree.
It gets devoicing when it's put into a specific combination. Like
I see. But this is only u and e that we get rid of.
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay.
I would think so.
Thank
you. Yeah.
You're welcome. So so the second point is the g dakuon has nasal sounds when it's put in a certain combination. For example, arigato, we should say arigato, arigato. And gogo, afternoon, we say gogo, gogo. It's like if the g comes after a r consonant, then it has a nasal sound, or it comes after an and it also has a nasal sound. Okay, the next section, working on vowels. So Andy-san has noticed sometimes we just have to be able to distinguish between long vowels and short ones. And sometimes we have to pay attention to the intonation so the misunderstanding would not happen. And one of the problems with Romanized Japanese names is that we don't know whether or not a vowel has a long vowel. Like Toshiba, normally we say Toshiba, but actually the Japanese pronunciation is Toshiba, Toshiba. And Osaka, it's the Japanese pronunciation is Osaka, Osaka. The on is long and the intonation is flat. Jock Simpson was telling us his personal experience in the Japanese train station that's near Osaka, I think. And he was speaking with an old lady and he told her that he's going to Osaka. And the lady was like, never heard of it. Where is it? Because we have to say Osaka. And Osaka and Osaka, these are two different names in Japanese, and they have two different kanjis. So make sure you are in a Japanese train station. You want to buy your tickets. Make sure you get the correct pronunciation with correct intonation, or you might get a ticket to somewhere else. And this is one of the examples that I'm not making any advertisement for this company, but it's a damn good example. Tozando. And it's actually Tozando. If I tell my Japanese friend, like, I got my friend from Tozando, and he might not understand what I say because I have to say Tozando, so he knows what exactly I'm talking about. And here are some sensei's names. Some of them have long vowels. We just have to pay attention. It's like Ishido, that's a long do. Ishido. And Oda, that's a short O. And Oshita, it's a long O, just like Oki, big. And the next section, it's a difficult one. So the intonation.
Sorry, one small
Annika?
question.
Yes.
How do you see if it's a long O or a short one? Is this with a kanjis that you see with how to pronounce it, or?
Yes, then in this case you have to look at its kanji or hiragana, so you know whether or not it's a long vowel. For example, like Toshiba. So I know the kanji for Toshiba. The to is like higashi, which is the Chinese character for east, and to is the Chinese pronunciation. So I know it's a to.
Thanks.
You didn't mean in Romaji though, did you, Annika?
In general, I'm not very good at hiragana and katakana and everything, but
so as you can see for Romaji, for most of the time, if the extended O is in the middle of is after a consonant, then as Andre's done here, you put a U after it. Or you can put a bar over the top of it, say this is long. If an O occurs at the beginning of a word like Oki or Oshita, then this is OO. It's not OU, it's OO.
Yeah.
Can I add something to that?
Please do.
It's not always a U. It actually, for some words, it's actually double O, like toi.
Yes, yeah, true.
So do know that there's like, if you want to write it down, you know, like, oh, it's a long one. 9 out of 10 times it's an OU, but there are cases where it's not the case.
Yeah.
So do look it up.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I got both examples, OO and OU. You just have to look it up in the dictionary or look at in its original Japanese writing.
Yeah.
That's what I can tell you for now. So, any other questions? Nope. Okay. So the intonation. And the Japanese language is a pitch accent language that has a word accent in which one syllable is more prominent than the others, which has a contrasting high pitch. So the Japanese language has only two tones, high and low. And the accent is expressed by the high pitch accent. So it's like, and there are different patterns of intonations. And this is something you should know before I dig into the intonations. So the first things, there are regional difference of accent and intonation patterns due to the local dialects. So that's why people from Aomori prefecture would speak differently than Kagoshima prefecture. And what we are learning is the standard Japanese or Hyojungo, which is based on the Yamanote dialect of Edo or Tokyo. And this is the language used by upper class samurais who lived in this district, which is the modern day Chiyodaku district. That's near the Imperial Palace in Tokyo. And NHK is kind of like the official body that standardized the accents and intonations of Hyojungo. And the last point is, do not expect that every Japanese person speaks NHK Hyojungo. And because of number 1 and number 4, that's why a Japanese Yakuza would speak differently than a Japanese high school teacher. And patterns of intonation. There are basically 4 patterns. So the first one is head high. So the high pitch accents on the first syllable, and then it drops suddenly on the second syllable and then levels out. So an example that we all know is ippome mae. Mae starts from high and then it drops. So as you can see here, I'm using the NHK accent system. So the slash means a dropping of the pitch on the coming syllable. That means anything that comes before the slash has the high pitch accent. And in this case, I'm marking it red, so just easier for you to see which syllable has the high pitch accent. And the second pattern is called middle high. So the pitch has an initial rise from a low starting point, and then it reaches a maximum at the accented syllable, and then drops suddenly on any following syllable. So it's like going up and then down, going up and down. So the one example is arigato. So the correct intonation is arigato, arigato. So the high pitch accent on B. And Evie had the question on Sunday. She think some people says arigato, arigato, the high pitch on the ga. Well, I can tell you that's the Nagoya accent. What it depends on the accent. Different people say arigato differently. Like this in Osaka, people say arigato, and in Nagoya, people say arigato. But for now, you have to know that the standard intonation is arigato, arigato. Okay, the third pattern is called tail high. That means the pitch rises from a low starting point and to a high pitch on the last syllable, and then drops immediately on the following particle. So the one example is home, house, which is ie, ie from low to high. If I add a particle ni after word, then it's yeni, yeni. It drops on the particle. So the last pattern is flat. So the pitch has a low starting point on the first syllable or two, and then it goes up slightly and then levels out. And there's no high pitch tone or accent within the word. So the example is ushiro, ushiro, it's a flat intonation. So please unmute yourself, and I would like to hear each one answering these 4 examples.
Oh, sorry, Andre, you're breaking off.
Oh, okay.
Can you say again?
Okay, please unmute yourself, and I would like to each of you pronouncing these 4 examples. Okay, let's start with Joseph.
He's sitting in the rain with his cat.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm in a park.
Oh.
I'm in a park, but
Oh.
yeah, I can do something. Go for
Okay.
it. What do I
Would
do?
you like to try the 4 examples if you can see them?
Wait. Now I can see them. Okay. Mae, arigato, ie, ushiro.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And Sophia, would you like to try? Or you?
Okay. I will. Mae, arigato,
Arigato.
arigato, ie, ushiro,
Ushiro.
ushiro,
Yes, if you say ushiro, it goes up and down.
ushiro. So it's a long ushiro.
Ushiro is flat and. Okay, Aga has run away. So Joao.
Mae,
Mae.
mae,
Mae.
ma,
High to low. Mae.
mae.
Yes.
Arigato, ie,
Ie.
ie,
Wait, you say ie, high to low, but the opposite way. On low, high. Ie.
ie,
Yes.
ushiro.
Okay, good. Okay. Martin-san.
Hi. Mai. Arigato. Ie. Ushiro.
Okay, okay. Can you try again? You tend to use a flat intonation for all of them.
Mai.
Mae.
Mai. Arigato. Ie. Ushiro.
Okay. Thank you. Jonathan.
Mae, arigato, ie, ushiro.
Okay, very good. Kim-san.
Hi. Mae, arigato, ie, ushiro.
Can you try the first 2 again?
Mae,
Mae.
mae, mae.
Yeah.
Arigato.
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 Yes. It sounds weird, but okay. Thank you. And Ukash.
Hi. Mae. Arigato. Ie. Ushiro.
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 Oto-san.
Oto-san. Oka-san.
Oto-san. Ushiro.
You have to speak like a robot.
Hi.
Okay, Anika-chan.
Hi. Mae.
Mae.
Arigato. Mae.
Yes.
Arigato.
Arigato.
Arigato. Ie. Ushiro.
Ushiro, you tend to drop on the
Okay.
last syllable.
Ushiro.
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 Okay, yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Tom-san.
Mae.
Mae.
Arigato. Mae.
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 Hmm.
More down. Mae.
Yes.
Arigato.
Arigato.
Arigato. Ie. Ushiro.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Luke-san.
はい、アンドレさん。前、ありがとう。いえ、後ろ。
後ろ。
後ろ。
Okay, thank you.
Can I have just one question?
Yes, please.
About arigato.
Yes.
Arigato. I sometimes hear people say aring with the nasal N before the G. Arigato.
Yes, that's what I talk about. The G, the ga dakuon has a nasal sound. So it's like arigato. You're correct.
Arigato.
That's the correct pronunciation. The ga has nasal sound.
Okay.
Okay, David-san.
Hello. 前、ありがとう。いえ、後ろ。
Okay, thank you. That's good. Is Aga here? Aga-san, would you like to try?
Sure. 前、ありがとう。いえ、後ろ。
Okay, yeah, you have to make the A distinctive.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, thank you. And last, okay, Andy-san.
前、ありがとう。いえ、後ろ。
Okay, thank you. Perfect. Now, which one for you is more problematic? Is that the flat tone?
For me, it's the short. Anything which is short is difficult to kind of change, make a sudden transition, and not find yourself flying off the end of the verb.
Yeah. How about for everyone else?
Still the flats.
Still the flat. Yes.
The one I think I do right, but turns out to be wrong. That's the difficult one.
I'm with Andy. It's the change at the end of the word, either up or down, if it's a short one.
Mm-hmm.
I have the same problem as Andy Sensei. It was the short words for me are the hardest ones to change the intonation in between the words.
Ah, okay.
And
Yeah,
the syllables, because they're very short.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only a subtle change.
Okay.
For me, it's the head high.
Head high.
And yeah, I think it's.
Yep. Okay, the next sections. Many Japanese words, they share the same kana spelling, but they have different intonations. So the meaning changes with the intonation. So one classical example is hashi and chopsticks and hashi for bridge. Hashi and hashi, like our Polish friend Michał Szczepański, his dojo's name is the city of bridges. And make sure you don't want to say the city of chopsticks when you are in Wrocław. Right, Aga? And another example is ame, rain, and ame, candy. And this one is like one of the common mistakes that we all make during the lesson, like kiru to cut and kiru to wear. And very often we make the wrong intonation. And sake for salmon fish, and sake and sake. And the last three example, kaeru, frog, and kaeru to change, same intonation, and kaeru to go home. So the frog changes. Kaeru ga kaeru. The frog goes home. Kaeru ga kaeru. If you can hear the difference. And can you tell the difference? So this is, I think, in my opinion, it is something that's it's very difficult to get the correct pronunciation. Please cut, please wear, and please come. Please cut. Kitte kudasai. Please wear. Kitte kudasai. Please come. Kitte kudasai. Now the key should be very lightly pronounced, but in this case, for the purpose of demonstration, I'm pronouncing the key, so you can kind of hear the difference. So please bear in mind. Now, there are some material which can help you to learn the accent, and you can get one of the accent dictionaries. Then the best one you can get is probably the NHK Accent Dictionary. And if you want some digital resources, you can get if you have Apple, then you can get the NHK Dictionary through the Jisho by Monokaido app. If you have Android, you can get J Accent. If you are on computer, you can use the online Japanese accent dictionary, or you can use AEDICT. And if you use AEDICT, the notation looks like this. So I'm going to show you how to read it. So you see this horizontal line above a syllable. That means it has the high pitch accent. Ma-e. And the arrow means anything that comes after has a drastic dropping of the pitch. And yuki and ushiro, you see this elongated line, that means it has a flat intonation. And arigato, arigato. And can you see this small circle to the right of ga? That means the ga has the nasal sound. Arigato. So that's everything I can show you about AEDICT. And please don't press the sound button, because it's a machine generated voice. It will give you something that has incorrect intonation. So I tried this. The snow, it should be yuki, but it says yuki. Yuki is something else, actually. So
Andre,
yes.
On this machine sound, when you have time, can you check Renshi, because it also has pronunciation and tone sound, and I don't know if it's a recorded or a machine. It sounds more like a recorded.
Which one, Renshi?
Yeah, Renshi. I'll drop you a link.
Okay, I'll check it afterward, and I'll tell you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have some exercise for you to have fun with. So let's start from something that's simple. So Miss Sato's sugar. So Sato is like one of the common Japanese names, and sugar it's like Sato, middle high. So how do you put them together? So Anika, would you like to try?
Okay.
Not really.
Sato, sano, sato.
Yes, that's good. Sato-san no sato. It sounds like Sato-san no sato.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Can
okay,
I?
Yes. Yes,
do you, when pronouncing sato, do you try to make it's not an elongated o, or is it ou that you pronounce?
It's sato. It drops on u.
Yeah, but it's not a sato o. It isn't the second o that you try to pronounce.
Yes, the second to has a high pitch accent. Sato.
I think what you mean, Lucas, it's not. Is it OU or is it OO?
Yes, it's OU. It's OU.
Yeah, sato.
Okay.
But I mean, you don't have to kind of overemphasize that. It's basically an natural elongation of the verb. So you don't need to say, for example, sato, 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 sato.
Okay. Thank you. Excuse me. Sorry.
It's okay.
No problem. So right now I'm just exaggerating myself so you can hear the change of the pitch clearly. So normally we say like Sato-san no Sato.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I've noticed that in written Japanese, sometimes you use hiragana or katakana, and sometimes you use like a dash to say that the syllable before is elongated. So, for example, kohi.
Kohi, yes.
Yeah, so, what's the difference in pronunciation between something that ends in ko or kohi? How do you differentiate the pronunciation, the intonation?
Also, kohi, I would say it's a flat intonation. Kohi.
Okay.
Most of the foreign words have flat intonation. Most. So I would say kohi is ko-u-hi, and with flat intonation. So it sounds like kohi.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next exercise. The city of chopsticks and the city of bridges. So we know Hashi and Hashi, and Miyako city, it has a flat intonation. So Aga-san, can you try these examples?
Hi.
Okay, so let's start with city of chopsticks.
Hashi no Miyako.
Okay, and city of bridges.
Hashi no Miyako.
Okay, that's quite close because the she has a slash afterwards. That means any particle that comes before she has a dropping of the pitch. So it sounds like Hashi no Miyako. It goes up and down. Can you try that again?
Hashi no Miyako.
Yes, that's correct. And can you try these two again one more time? Chopsticks.
Hashi no Miyako.
Okay, and bridges.
Hashi no Miyako.
Okay, and how do we call your dojo?
Hashi no Miyako.
Very good. Thank you, Aga. And the next exercise, the salmon fish drinks rice wine. So sake, and to drink nomu. And to make it simple, we just use the plain form nomu. So Joao, would you like to try?
Sure. Sake ga sake o nomu.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, sake ga sake o nomu. So the sa and no have the high pitch accent. Can you try one more time?
Sake ga sake o nomu.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you. Okay, the next one. Oshita sensei has pushed. So we use the plain past form of push, which is oshita, and it has a flat intonation. And oshita, the name also has a flat intonation. And sensei, the accent on the second say. So Ukash, would you like to try?
To push sensei. Oshita sensei ga oshita.
Okay, try it again.
Oshita sensei ga oshita.
Okay, the way I do it is because it has the high pitch accent on se, and oshita, it's a flat intonation. So I will start with a low tone. Oshita sensei ga oshita. Oshita sensei ga oshita. Can you try it one more time, starting with a low pitch at the beginning?
Oshita sensei ga oshita.
Okay, that's good. And thank you.
Thank you. Arigato.
Ah, that's the correct intonation. Okay, the last exercise. Useful Japanese. Panzi is underwear, and panzi is like trouser or pants. So, but different intonation. And we know kite and kite. So there are 4 different sentences. Please pronounce this sentence with the correct intonation. So, okay, David, would you like to start with the first one? Please wear a pair of pants.
パンツを着て、着て、
着て、
パンツを着て
ください。
ください。
Okay, again.
パンツを着てください。
Okay, perfect. Okay, the next victim. Okay, Luke-san. Please wear an underwear.
Why?
Because you're going swimming.
Pantsu o kite kudasai.
Okay, pants. The
Pantsu.
high pitch accent on pan.
Shitagi isn't correct.
Oh, shitagi is like class.
Pantsu o kite kudasai.
Hi. Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. Okay, the next victim who hasn't done it before. Him. Please cut the pants.
パンツを切ってください。
That means please cut the underwear.
It's still too hard. Pants.
Okay, pants is underwear. Pants flat is pants.
パンツを切ってください。
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you. Okay, next one. I'll let the men do this exercise. Don't worry. Okay, Martin. The last, please. Please cut the underwear.
パンツを切ってください。
Ah, yes. Okay, can you try it one more time, a little bit slowly? It's correct.
パンツを切ってください。
Yes, thank you. And that was the last exercise. And so the last section. So how do we learn intonations actually? The best way is just to let our brains to pick up the intonations. And we use only the dictionary just for reference. Because in daily life, in like daily speaking, like daily conversations, we just have to rely on our brain to bring out the correct intonations. There's no time for us to check with the accent dictionary. So if I have to broadcast, then I sit down at the table with a script and I work with the accent dictionary. That's how I use the accent dictionary. So how do we let our brains pick up the intonations? There are several methods. You can watch Japanese television. So yeah, I say Japanese television, I mean Japanese news and Japanese documentary films. Because the news reporter and announcers and narrators, they are trained to speak the most correct Japanese oral language. So I would say that would be the best material to learn intonations. And I put up some sources like they have the NHK and ANN and Nihon Telebi. They have like 24-hour live news on the internet. And you can if you have Android, you can get the NHK for School program for free, and then you have an access to a library of NHK documentary films. And the second method, I call it audio-visual method, AV method. So basically, I let my brain read the Japanese text and hear the line at the same time. So my brain would try to pick up the intonations. And later, when my brain try to record the text, and it will try to bring out the intonation it has learned before. So how do I learn with these methods? So I watch televisions and movie with Japanese closed captions. So I read and hear the text at the same time. And some YouTube, like Japanese teaching channels, they have videos with closed captions, and you can use them, like Odomapu. And if you like to play Japanese video game, you can try this genre of game. It's called sound novels. Basically, it's like a digital novel, but the lines are voiced. Or you can play Ghost of Tsushima, and you switch the system language to Japanese, and you can enjoy the Japanese voice acting. Or you can learn your intonation for your Japanese teachers, and we have just learned the basic rules of intonation, and you can try to pay attention to their intonations. And so that was the last slide. If I may, I would like to finish the slide with the Kansai Ben accent of saying arigato, which is arigato and okini. Okay, that's it. Thank
Brilliant.
you.
Thanks, Andre. Well done.
Arigato!
Arigato gozaimasu.
Gozaimasu.
May I ask a couple of questions?
Yes.
Okay, first question. Is there any difference in pronunciation between men and women?
There might be. There might be.
So watashi is one that I hear.
Watashi.
Atashi from women.
Atashi, yeah.
Watashi, washi.
Ore, men.
Yeah, there are some words which are typically used by men and typically used by women. So, for example, most men say, well, youngish generations say boku, older generations say ore, upper class people say ware, and most women would say watashi or atashi or watakushi. These are all kind of variations of the Chinese watashi.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The second question is, often when I'm listening to Japanese on YouTube or whatever, for the word des, I hear them pronounce it as des.
So this is a shortening of no des, which means because of this. So if you wanted to say, for example, the sentence, if somebody said to you, why are you late? You could say, because of the train, I was late, which is a very long way of explaining the reason for this. But you could say instead, densha ga okureta no desu. This means it is because of the train which was late. In spoken Japanese, the no is often shortened to n. So you'd say densha ga okuretan desu. So it kind of fixes itself to the last syllable of the previous word. Okuretan desu.
That would also explain why I couldn't understand the sentence.
So it's usually used as an explanation of something. It's like saying because of this. Yeah, so if you're writing it, then you normally say no des, but you can also say no des in conversation as well. But most people drop it and say des.
Also just to put like emphasis on that action or verb, right?
Yeah, exactly. It gives it some context. So if somebody says, why aren't you wearing a coat? You don't need to say atsui desu kara, because that sounds really stilted and long. Just say atsuin desu. Atsuin desu. It's hot. Atsuin desu. Not just atsui desu, which means atsuin dayo. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions about intonation? Martin, I should also say that generally, if you want a good model for how to originally start to speak Japanese well, you should listen to women speaking Japanese, because men do tend to suppress their intonations. They suppress the clarity of their pronunciation. They suppress the formality of their speech. All the best Japanese teachers are women.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Miko sensei.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Onomapu speaks actually quite easy to understand Japanese, but I would say that he's speaking in a way which is easy for foreigners to understand. His style of speaking is much closer to how female Japanese would speak than guys of that age, really. そうだよね。そうだね. Like this, instead of saying そうですね, then そうやね.
Isn't that also not a little bit like Kansai then? Where they say like,
Sumahe. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Ikan ya. Yeah. Wakarimahe. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Andre. That was really useful and really interesting. I'm not expecting us to be able to pick up intonations in the class that quickly because we're kind of always grammar focused. But like Andre said, if you can do kikinagashi training, which is listening, either actively listening and trying to study what they're saying, as we've done with Onomapu, or even passively listening for especially really good Japanese, like Andre said, the news, then this will help to develop our intonation. Cool. So we've got 30 minutes left. I don't think we've got enough time to really start. Let's have a quick look. What was our thing today? It was to do. Actually, we could possibly do it. We did causative last week, and actually, you shouldn't. Let's have a crack at this, because if we don't get it finished today, we can just continue it next week. And timing is always something which is we keep returning to, because there's several different types of timing. Okay, so this is part one of a few episodes of how to express timing in Japanese. The one we're going to study today is nagara. Nagara. So I'm be really careful now to keep it flat intonation. Nagara, not nagara or nagara, but nagara. So as you can see from this diagram, with time working in a horizontal plane, we have a main action A, and then we have a sub-action B. So nagara means to do something while doing something. So while I was doing A, I was doing B. There are some regulations about nagara. One is that the subjects of both verbs needs to be the same. So you can't say while I was watching television, Henry was cleaning the car. You can't use nagara for this. You can only use it for me doing two things at the same time. It's basically a kind of multitasking verb. It's not important that it's absolutely simultaneous. So it's not inferring strict timing, but it, let me just, for example, the kind of example we usually use is I ate popcorn while watching TV. So it doesn't infer that the moment you press the on button on the television, you were dropping a piece of popcorn in your mouth. And at the time you switch the television off, you were swallowing the last piece of popcorn. It doesn't have to be this kind of tight. It just means basically you were doing two things at the same time. But the two things should be overlapping. They should be overlapping. One actual example I remember when we first did this class first time round was to use an example like, while I was working at the zoo, I was studying physics. So this is really saying that in the same season that I was studying physics, I was working in the zoo. You don't actually have to be doing those two tasks at the same time. You can use this to say I was doing, you know, two jobs at the same time, studying physics, and also in my work time I was working at the zoo. So you can use nagara for this as well. This also infers that both verbs should have some sort of significant duration. If we think about instantaneous verbs like sitting down, clicking your fingers, shooting a priest, these are all momentary things that don't take much time. So we can't really use nagara for those kinds of verbs. We have to use a different form, which is called dojini.
Depends on the number of priests.
Well, yeah, and the gun, I suppose. Yeah, yeah. If it's like a minigun, then with a whole country full of priests,
if you want to shoot them all while
yeah.
you study physics, that's probably Nagara.
Exactly. Okay, so this is a fairly easy construction. We take the mass form of verb A, our main verb, remove the mass and add nagara, and then we put the other verb after it. We'll come to some further construction in a second. So verb A in the mass form, nagara, verb B, mass. For example, while watching TV, I ate some popcorn. I know a few of you have been through this many times already, so I'll ask Martin to have a go at this one. Oh, sorry, the thing, just before you start, Martin, the rule I was going to say is if you're translating from English, English is pretty good at marking the main action by putting the while next to that verb. So that infers that this is the main verb here, the while watching TV. So this is the one which needs to be set with nagara. So think of what the word while as being the indicator of where nagara fixes onto.
Terebi o minagara popcorn o tabemasu.
Yes, good. Or tabemashita. So I ate some popcorn. Yeah, exactly this. Good. Terebi o minagara popcorn o tabemashita. So there could be some significance as to which verb you put the mass onto. It could be that you don't want to infer any priority of one verb over the other. For example, I watered my plants while I sung a song. If you said I sung a song while watering my plants, or I watered my plants while singing a song, these are two fairly non-critical actions, really. It doesn't really matter whether you consider the singing the song as being important or the watering the plants as being important. But there are some circumstances where you might want to infer some priority. So one typical example is, we used this one before, I listened to, while I was studying, I listened to the radio. While I was studying, I listened to the radio. Now, what you might want to infer is that you started studying because this is an important task, and then you thought, oh no, I'll switch the radio on. So in this case, we would want to put the studying as the main action A verb. So benkyou shinagara radio o kikimashita. Or you might want to infer that you were just sitting relaxing, listening to the radio, and you thought, oh, maybe I'll do some studying while I'm listening to this, and make the studying a little bit less prioritized, a little bit more passive. So in this case, the listening to the radio would be the main action. There are then cases where the position is absolutely critical, because you could be inferring causality between verb A and verb B. The example of this is, I cried while cutting onions, and not I cut onions while I cried. So saying I cried while cutting onions means you started cutting onions and then the onions made you cry. So there's a kind of a direction of causality there. But if you said, so if doing this in Japanese would be correct, it would be negi o kiri nagara nakimashita. Negi o kiri nagara nakimashita. If you said naki nagara negi o kirimashita, it sounds like you were sitting around crying one day out of sadness, and to cheer yourself up, you started chopping some onions. So you don't really want to say it this way around, because it sounds funny. So negi o kiri nagara nakimashita would be the correct. So if you memorize this one sentence, it will tell you where the direction of causality is moving from to. So it's coming from here and going to the nakimashita. I think that's it. Any questions, guys? Right, let's try some exercises really quick. So I've done this one already. So I'll go to Joseph. I always eat while watching TV.
looking for the mute button. テレビを見ながらいつも食べています。これ食べます。
Yeah, テレビを見ながらいつも食べます。Good. Jonathan, yesterday while walking to the office, I read my text messages.
昨日、会社に散歩しながらメッセージを読みました。
読みました。Very good. Sorry, I actually did some checking after last week's lesson about sample and aruki nagara. So you'd be completely understood here, but I actually I gave you some bad information. It should be aruku. To say I went to the office by foot. Yeah, go ahead.
Then it is aruki nagara.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So sampo suru means to go for a walk for pleasure, whereas to walk to somewhere we can use aruku. Yeah. Cool. Sophie, let's converse slowly while we drink coffee.
コーヒーを飲みながら
Yep.
slowly ゆっくり
Good.
One
more time.
話します。
Hanash, as it's let's, we could say.
話そう。Let's 話そう。
Are you doing in the mass form or the
話しましょう。
hanashimasho? Yes. Hanashimasho. Aga, you mustn't talk on the phone while driving a car, because that will interfere with you drinking coffee.
運転しながら電話
Let's say 携帯で。
Yeah. 携帯で
Sorry, can I just ask something? Jonathan, is that a massive cat or is it just sitting next to the camera?
It's no, it's very massive.
It's bigger than your house.
Yeah, so it's our indoor tiger.
Ah, I see.
Very rare.
Sorry, I go back to you.
話さなければなりません。
So that means you must talk on the phone. So we didn't actually do prohibitions before. We kind of mentioned them. But one way of doing a prohibition would be to say,
話さないで
this is, yeah, you could say, please don't talk on the phone, but this is a kind of negative request. So the opposite of an obligation, the obligatory form, is to do hanashite wa ikimasen or narimasen or dame desu.
Do you need the wa?
Hanashite, I think technically no, but people tend to use it for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You probably also need a karuma somewhere in that sentence.
Ah, true. Yeah, okay. So kuruma o. I guess that was inferred by unten shinagara. Yeah. Can you read that one again, please, Aga?
車を運転しながら携帯で話してはいけません。
Very good. Yes. Martin, I take notes in my notebook while listening to my teacher.
I'm on mute. Hang on, not sure about this, but certainly Kyoshi or Kiki Nagara.
Oh, Kiki Nagara, good. So there's a list of Japanized words here, actually. So notes is memo,
yeah,
and notebook is techo. Actually, there's a proper word, which is techo.
Noto.
Or noto is also fine, actually.
Okay.
Techo is quite useful.
It's noto.
One more time, Andre?
Desu noto.
Desu noto. Yeah.
Noto. Kyoshi o kikinagala. Oh, now I'm confused. So take notes in the notebook. So the verb to be scowl.
So to take notes, you can just use write actually, or toru. Yeah, yeah.
Memo or kakimasu.
Memo o, and then you could say where you're going to put it. So techo.
Ni.
Yep, good.
Kakimasu.
Yes, excellent, good.
Wait, shouldn't it be kyoshi ni?
Kyoshi o kyoshi o kikimasu. Kyoshi ni kikimasu. Kyoshi o.
Now you're listening the teacher. You're doing a listen on the teacher.
Sensei ni kikimasu. Sensei o kikimasu. Radio o kikimasu. Could be there's a difference between listening to something like a radio and listening to somebody who's actually talking, because you're right, you usually use, for listening to the sensei, you say sensei ni kikimasu. But if you're talking about a radio, this is normally radio o kikimasu. Kyoshi o kikin, sensei o kikin. I think they're probably both fine actually.
Can I just say thank you for not giving me the next one?
The next one's easy. Okay, Joel. While studying French, I like to use a dictionary to check words that I don't know. To be honest, Martin, this is a kind of jump forwards because we've only just done verbs modifying nouns like 2 weeks ago, like words I don't know.
Okay, so フランス語を勉強しながらわからない言葉をチェックのために辞書を使います。
Okay, this is good. Yeah. Cool. Good.
I was trying to do I like.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to really quickly do that, because I'd like to get through all of this before the end. It would be jisho o skau no ga suki desu ne. Yeah, this is it. Jonathan, there's an errata in this week's lesson on this from what you said last week. So I looked up this whether to use koto or no. So it turns out that you can use koto in this situation, but it's quite formal. It's normally used for written Japanese. In spoken Japanese, you usually use no. But koto is perfectly fine. It just sounds very formal. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Andre, for the purpose of safety, please look left and right while crossing the road.
安全のために。
安全のために。
道路を渡りながら左右を見てください。
Very good. Perfect. Excellent. Kim, so that there are no accidents, please look left and right while crossing the road. Okay. This is, I see why I did this one in there.
A difficult one.
Go ahead, Joel.
Is it 左右を見てください or 左右に見てください?
Both are fine actually. Okay. Yeah. One means looking to the left, looking to the right. And the other one means look towards the left or towards the right. Yeah. Kim, this is basically the same one, but I don't want to use anzen no tameni. I want to use a different kind of cause for doing this.
It's a lot of vocabulary that I don't know.
Which ones don't you know?
Accidents.
Okay, who can help?
Chico.
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 Cool. Chiku.
Okay.
Arimasen? No.
Okay. So yeah, this is good. So ga arimasen.
Chiku ga arimasen.
But we probably, as this is going to be a grammatical function, instead of saying the full arimasen, we'd probably want to use the should be not.
No.
So yeah, what's the negative of aru?
Awanai.
No.
No.
It's an irregular verb actually. You're going to kick yourself when I tell you.
Like aranai.
Nai.
No. Nai. Just nai. Ah, yes.
Yeah.
No, I have no idea.
Well, previously, Andre did anzen no tameni. So he used tameni. Remember this? We did this. Can you use tameni for this one?
No idea.
I can see a lot of people shaking their heads.
No, we can't. So you have to use yoni.
Yes, good. Yoni. Why can't you use tameni?
No idea.
Can anybody help?
It's a negative.
It's a negative verb.
It's a negative. You can only use positive verbs with tameni.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then left and right, that was kind of an expression.
Yep. I mean, I would just look up at this point and then just read. Look up.
Look up. Doro o watari nagara. Sayu o nite kudasai.
Good.
Ah, yes.
You don't always get the hard ones. Sometimes you get the easy ones, the ones for the special children. Łukasz, he thought about short people while riding on the bus.
Basu o. You also write like untensuru here?
No, that's driving. So it's the same verb for getting on the bus.
Noru?
Good, noru.
Basu o no nagara, no noru. Norimasu, norinagara.
Good, norinagara.
He thought about short people. Short is chisai?
Oh, actually, so the word for midgets, which is politically incorrect nowadays, it's the old word for Lucy. Does anyone remember what we used to call Lucy?
Chibi-chan.
Chibi-chan. Chibi.
Jesus. So chibi is a short people.
Jesus. Yes. Don't use this in polite conversation.
Basu o norinagara chibi. Chibio?
Yep.
Think was o.
It's not omoimas. It's whenever I always think about Australian marsupials.
This is this kangaroo that you just said today.
Yeah.
Kangaeru. Kangaerimashita.
So it's a group 2 verb. So it's
and kangaemashita.
Good. Kangaemashita. Excellent. Well done.
Small, very stupid question.
Go ahead.
Chibi. Is it an abbreviation of Chisai Hito, which would have been Chihi, but then for pronunciation turned into Chibi?
I think you're probably right. Yeah. It's not considered to be politically correct anymore, of course, because it's an actual medical condition. Let me look it up a second.
Well, Japanese tend to be not political correct anyway.
Sure. Actually, it just comes. It's actually it's got its own kanji, which is if you type in chibi into AEDICT, it comes from chibiru, to become bald, bare, or wear out, or waste away. And little girl employed at a brothel. This is Lucy.
That's Lucy, yeah.
This is Lucy.
To wear out.
She was also quite worn out by the end as well, after working in the brothel for so long.
Do we record this session?
Yeah, I might not on this one though. I might delete this particular episode.
The more you know. Thank you.
Oh, pleasure. Okay, Annika. While drawing the sword, turn left to face the rear.
Katana o nukitsuri nagara.
So nuku itself is the verb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nuki nagara.
Very good. Nagara.
Hirari no. Hirari ni. Magaru is
so if you're rotating, this is mawaru. If you're driving and you're turning, you're like curving, this is magaru. But if you're on your feet and you're turning, this is just mawaru.
Yeah, but
Actually,
I have a problem with
yeah, this is slightly
the other part.
Yeah, I'm gonna explain a kind of easy way to translate this. Ushiro ni is the direction you're going to turn, but you're going to face the rear. So if you said hidari ni ushiro o, and then we use the word to face towards, which is either muku or mukau, which is a kind of animal that gives you milk. Mukau. So some jokes don't translate, do they, Martin? A mukau is an animal which gives you milk. Mukau.
All right.
We are muted.
Who is? Me?
No, we. That's why you don't hear the laughs.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So this is a way of saying turn left to face the rear. So ushiro ni, hidari ni gives you the direction you're going to turn, but the objective is marked with o, to look, to face towards. Ushiro o mukau or muku.
Okay.
Okay, so turn this into polite speak.
Katana o nuki nagara hirari ni ushiro o mukimasu.
Very good. Yes, good. Excellent. And then for the last three people, I'll make something up. Good. Tom.
Wasps. Waspo?
No, there is a proper word for it. I don't know what it is actually.
Suzumebachi.
Thank you.
And to kill was no korosu?
Korosu, yes.
Korosu. Can you say it one more time, David? Wasps?
Suzumebachi. It's a combination of sparrow and bees. So Suzumebachi.
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 I'll write it down so we've got it. Suzumebachi.
Oh. Koro shinagara.
Yep.
Milkshake o.
Milkshake o.
Nomimashita.
Very good. Yes, cool. Good. Luke. I think your one should contain something with cheese in it. While I sell cheese, I also wear women's shoes. There we go.
I always wear women's shoes, so not only while I'm selling cheese.
Even in the bath.
Yeah. Cheese or urinagara.
Oh, urinagara.
Urinagara. Onna no hito no kutsu o Hairimasu.
Couldn't remember the verb for putting on shoes, guys.
It's to pull on, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Haku.
Haku.
Hakimasu.
Very good. Cool. And David, while playing with the cat, I murdered the postman.
Neko or asobi nagara.
So this would be neko to, right? So with
neko to asobi nagara.
Good.
What's postman?
I don't know actually. Jonathan, do you know what postman is, or Joseph?
Yobinkyakuen.
Is it?
No idea.
It's shoe hygiene. Shoe hygiene.
Shoe hygiene.
Sounds like it sounds like a powder you put into your shoes to stop them from going smelly. It's this shoe hygiene. It's what all postmen should use.
Shoe hygiene.
Shoe hygiene.
Shoe hygiene.
Shoe hygiene.
Yeah.
Or it's not koroshi. There's a word for it, isn't there?
Koroshita is fine, but you could use other things.
Satsu.
Go ahead.
It's satsu shimashita.
Satsu ni shimashita.
Satsu ni shimashita.
Yeah. Shimashita. Cool.
Average of second class post.
By the end of this course, guys, I'm sure you'll all remember the verb for killing, which is going to be really useful when you go to Japan as a tourist. Any questions?
It is useful in Japan.
It is really useful, yeah. Let's do a little bit, just at the end, we'll do a little bit of reading. We won't do all of these. I just want you to now think about what Andre was saying. Think about how we should be careful to not over-intone things. If you're not sure, flat intonation will probably get you out of trouble. So let's do, if you can unmute yourselves, please. How about this one? Let me just try to go. フランス語を勉強しながら、わからない言葉をチェックのために辞書を使います。
フランス語を勉強しながら、わからない言葉のために辞書を使います。
Let's try one in completely flat intonation just to see how funny it sounds. 安全のために道路を渡りながら左右を見てください。
安全のために道路を渡りながら左右を見てください。
渡りながら左右を見てください。
They sound like Zen monks.
That was my next one. Go really slow.
Okay, how about this one? 事故がないように道路を渡りながら左右を見てください。
Drug style.
事故がないように渡りながら左右を見て
ください。
ください。
Don't be shy.
Could a chai chai? I think.
Okay, let's
do this last one.
Try one in the Yakuza style.
Okay. Actually, I'll get Andre to do this. Andre, pick your example one. Oh, how about I drank a milkshake while killing wasps? That's a kind of very thing to say. Let's. Where's it gone? Hang on. I'll just try and. There we go. Go on, Andre. You go first.
スズメバチを殺しながらミルクシェイクを飲みました。
うまいな。
うまいよ。
スズメバチを殺しながら。
スズメバチを殺しながら。ミルクシェイクを飲みました。飲みました。
Now, you sound like Gandalf speaking in Mordorian now. 殺しながら。
You shall not pass. In Japanese.
Wataru na! Koeru na!
I wonder if the Japanese version actually goes like that.
Oh, it should
Damn
do
it.
correctly. I'm sure. I bet they have. I bet they have actually done a thingy, a dubbing.
Oh,
sure.
I have to look.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's
100%.
Extended version.
okay.
Homework.
So, guys, your assignment is for homework is to find you shall not pass clip in Japanese. And
Oh,
post it. Yep. That'll be today. This will be today's homework.
In French accent, French, Japanese, or they shall not pass.
You shall not pass, monsieur.
your bell
Okay.
elderberries.
Great. Thanks, guys. Have a nice evening.
Likewise.
Arigato.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Andy, have you one
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
Andy,
Luke.
do you have 1 minute?
Sure, yeah, of course, yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao. Thanks, Andre.
Bye.
Ciao,
You're
ciao.
Thank you, Andre.
Blue tongue.
It's my pleasure.
And I'll cry if I want to. Procedoso.
Well, just to say that this is starting tomorrow. We are having training again. So on Tuesday evening and Wednesday evening.
Okay.
So I won't be able to make this class anymore. Neither will I be able to come to a Wednesday evening training for.
Okay. Yeah.
Those. So that's that's about it.
Are you free Thursday mornings?
Yes.
Oh, just come to the Asahi class then.
Yeah, well, this is on Friday now, this week, isn't it?
Oh, it is not, yeah, right, this week is on Friday.
Okay. Shouldn't be. Just one question, since there isn't going to be an exam and for Nanadan and Rokudan Nanadan in the European Championship, do you think it would be worthwhile going to Japan in November? Because I think there in November there should be an exam.
So we're planning to go. So yeah, it would be a good idea. And it's great if you're going to Furuichi Sensei's dojo. We'll be in Kanagawa as well, so we can meet up and have beers.
So, but by then it should be kind of okay to go there, I suppose.
Yeah. So at the moment, Al is putting
fully
together.
Vaccinated anyway.
Yeah, I think it depends on how things are at the other end, though. Whether they insist that we go into quarantine. Of course, it's not going to be worth us going if we have to do that. But at the moment, Al is putting together our plan. So if you want to ask to be just included in the sort of travel plans, obviously some parts like the hotel, etc., that you have to find your own because you'll be staying I guess you'll be staying. I don't know. Is actually
he has his own dojo and there is an apartment above the dojo.
Okay. Oh, cool. Okay.
Anyway, I could sleep in his dojo.
Right. Cool. Okay. But yeah, just let Al know that you're also planning to go at the same time, and then it means he can just sort of plan things in with you as well in case there's anything groupy that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll still have some time to think about it and make concrete plans.
I would just so you know, these days I'm not sure how convenient it is from Belgium, but we usually fly Finnair via Helsinki, and because it takes a little bit more of a northern route, it's only a 1 hour for the Heathrow to Helsinki to Tokyo. It's like a 2-hour transit at Helsinki, which is more than enough time to do a transit there. That's where we usually go. It's normally the cheapest and it's quick. And Helsinki Finnair service is also really nice as well. So if you're looking for flights, maybe give them a look.
Before COVID, there was Anna flying from Brussels direct.
Ah, right.
And then they had, at that time, well, 2 years ago, they had cheap tickets around 500 euros.
That's to Narita, though, isn't it? Or is that to Haneda?
Narita.
So that was. So you're then adding another 5,000 yen onto that, so another 40 50 euros, say, maybe a bit more to get from Narita to Kanagawa though. So yeah, I mean, have a look at the prices and stuff. I mean, in the end, for us, it's also adds like another 2 hours as well. For us going to flying to Haneda, flying to Haneda on Thin Air was not only cheaper, it also took less time as well. Yeah. Have a look anyway.
Yeah.
In the end.
Okay.
Yeah, it's easy to decide, isn't it?
Okay. Thanks.
Cool. Okie dokie. See you on. Why don't it come this Friday actually? Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, mate. See you later. Take care.